Over the next few sessions, we're going to get toward the conclusion of our course by talking about some of the practical applications of the traffic analysis that we've looked at so far. Now, we can take packet captures obviously now and do a lot of different things with them, but let's look at what practically we can do with them. What use is this knowledge? We're going to talk about that over the next few sessions. One of the primary uses is network troubleshooting. Now you might ask yourself, how would I use that for network troubleshooting? And because I'm a really good networking technician, I know exactly where to look when the network goes down. Well, network problems, as we know, can lead you to look at different sources to help solve the problems. The obvious sources we probably already know to look at. When a particular client is having issues connecting to the network, of course we go look at the host. We look at its network card, we look at its TCP/IP stack. One of the first things we try to do is ping the network and ping our default gateway and so forth. So we look at the host, of course, that's obvious. If we have trouble getting to a particular server, perhaps we don't get a good connection to our internal intranet server. Maybe it's a flaky connection. Well, of course, we go look at the server. We make sure its services are running. We make sure its network card is functioning properly, that its TCP stack is working, and so forth. Then we look at our network devices. We look at whether our switches and routers are turned on and functioning, whether there's good connections on the ports and so forth. So we look at those. The other obvious thing that we look at, of course, is cabling. We know that probably better than 50% of network problems come from bad cabling, cable not plugged in, or cable that's frayed or broken or whatever, or that some user has helped us with by putting it into a different port. So those are the obvious sources. And we all look at those whenever we do network troubleshooting. Now, what about the not so obvious source? Well, traffic analysis, and we've talked about that already. We know that most network problems are pretty much easily solved by looking at the obvious, the host, the network cable, the server. And usually, if you've noticed, the bigger the problem, the easier it is to spot most of the time. I say most of the time. For example, an immediate catastrophic network failure where nobody can connect to the network. Usually that's pretty easy to track down. Maybe our outside connection to the world, somebody's unplugged it, or maybe somebody's cut a cable, or maybe there's a switch that's gone completely down or turned off. Those are usually fairly easy to pinpoint. The ones that are not as easy to pinpoint, that may cause you to have to look at different sources, including traffic analysis, are the intermittent issues, the ones that don't happen on a regular basis, but they happen every so often during the day, and they cause a temporary disruption, and then everything goes back to normal quickly before you can figure out what the problem was. Those are the ones that are harder to track down. Now, how can capturing network traffic and analyzing it help you? Well, during a network issue or during a network problem, it may help pinpoint root causes or establish traffic patterns. What you would want to do is during an issue, during a network problem, you would want to start capturing traffic, especially if this is an intermittent issue or a constant issue. And you can't track this down to the obvious switch being turned off or the obvious cable being unplugged. You will want to run a traffic capture so you can look at it and kind of compare that to your baselines. That's why we've talked about baselining traffic a lot during this course. You have to baseline your traffic at various times. You have to know what kind of traffic is normal for your network during slack and peak times, not just first thing in the morning, not just at noon, not just at night, but during all those time frames, so that you know what's normal, so that you know what a problem, if it's caused, how that would be different from normal traffic. So you would run a traffic capture and then compare that to a baseline, so you could see, well, in the morning I normally have a lot of traffic because people are logging in, checking their email, and going out to the web traffic. Well, today I didn't have that much traffic, or very little to none traffic, going out and surfing the web. So maybe I need to start looking at the proxy server. Maybe I need to start looking at the firewall or other network device. But that might help you go and start looking at where the problem might be.